She used to be a really good mom to me. It was up until I was around 7 or 8, it started slowly declining. And I like to say that's where my childhood like actually ended, was when I was 7 or 8. We ended up moving to Florida. We all thought everything was gonna be okay and better because we got like money from the house that we sold. So we were going in Florida like, oh, like things are great, but it didn't really get any better. Like poverty hit pretty hard. We had started like having a house made for us as we were staying with my uncle when we first got in Florida. And we were going to move into it, but like the week before we could move into it, they said that something fell through and we couldn't live there. But we ended up moving to a bigger house that was already built in the same complex. And we moved into the bigger house, and the bigger house was too expensive for us. At first, we were like really happy, like, okay, we have a house, we got like all new furniture, and everything was good. We ended up losing power in that big house for like a month in the hottest season of Florida. And I remember having to take like ice baths because we didn't have like hot water or gas or any of that. So we couldn't even like turn on the AC or the stove. We didn't have a fridge. We had to use dry ice. We were just like prisoners in that gigantic house with nice furniture. And I had to hide it from people because I couldn't go to school and be like, oh yeah, my mommy and daddy are making me live in a house with nothing in it. And my mom would be like, please don't tell anybody. I don't want you to get taken away. And that's so much pressure. And they would give me an assignment that would probably have something to do with the computer or something like a basic just need that everyone can fulfill, but I couldn't. Every time I got a project, I would be filled with dread, even if I could do it. Because I would be like, oh damn, am I gonna be able to get the supplies? Can I even ask my parents if I can get supplies? Because I know it's gonna be hard for them and they're gonna have to cut corners. And I knew my parents would always put me first, but that hurt me because I didn't want them to put me first because I cared about them. I think it really affected my mom a lot. She started turning to alcohol because she was constantly feeling the lowest low. I would dread the weekends because I knew that was drinking day. They would just like drink all day and all night, and my dad would drink with my mom because that was like the only way they could find a common ground at that point, I genuinely think. And it just got worse and worse and worse, and eventually the weekend turned into like 3 days and then 4 days. And my dad would be gone for work because he worked nights a lot. And my mom would just be alone. And I'd be at school and she'd be alone. And that's like the worst for her because she already feels alone. And she didn't really have anyone to talk to because herself, she's kind of an outcast to her family. Like her brothers and sisters don't really like her. And she would go on like Facebook and connect with her old friends, but a lot of the old friends were male and she would be talking to them. So my mom would just, find ways to make her life more interesting and she would just be talking to people. And so she actually did cheat on my dad. That, of course, caused huge problems. My dad was really, really mad. We ended up separating from my dad and moving in with the guy that she cheated on my dad with. And he was just really abusive to my mom. And that was the first time I experienced my mom getting like actually abused, and I couldn't do anything. He used to tell me as like an 8 or 9 year old like I was going to hell and all that, and he said, liars go to hell. When I would tell him like, you got to stop treating my mom this way, and he was like, oh, so you're lying to people now saying that I'm treating your mom bad? You're gonna go straight to hell, you know that, right? But it didn't get any better because we ended up moving to Alabama, where he is from, and we stayed with his uncle, who was worse. They would both gang up on my mom, and I would just come home from school, which I hated because it was so far away, and I didn't like being far away from my mom for multiple reasons, and I knew she was never really safe. She would just get like so abused, like verbally, physically. Like I remember one time I was woken up because he like slapped her really hard at the edge of the bed. And then I woke up and it was just so common for me and like a natural occurrence. So I just went back to sleep. I would be like, I know it's scary, but we gotta go. Like, like please, I'm begging you. I wanna, be able to sleep through the night. I would bug her every day. I'd be like, we gotta go. Like, you just gotta do it. We just gotta go. I know you're scared, but we gotta go. Like, I was so sick of it. And eventually she gave in, and we ended up going to a women's shelter. I remember sitting in the back of the cop car on the way to the women's shelter, and I swear to God, like, I haven't felt relief in years. So when we were in that cop car, I swear I almost cried because I was like, thank God, like, finally. There were a lot of other women there, and I think my mom sort of understood, like, the situation we were in was nowhere near acceptable because she was able to talk to other women. And I think it was because I was so calm that she was able to accept it. And we got to New Jersey, and we lived with her childhood friend. It was really awful. Like, I started to experience, like, the worst part of the life. My mom's childhood friend's mother got sick, and she went back to Colorado to see her mom and be with her mom. So it was just me and my mom in the house. She also was like, oh, I'm free now, I can drink. And so she did. And she was seeing all these men, and I was happy that my mom was dating because she looked happy, but it was like horrific because that house too, it wasn't like a regular house. Like, when you take like the sheetrock off of a wall and it's just that wood, and then it's like the filling, like the insulation. That's what that house was. And it ended up being like a nasty little place to be because she would just be drinking constantly, and her boyfriends would be drinking constantly, and she dated this one man who actually got a kick out of her sleeping with other men, and I unfortunately saw it all. She didn't realize it, I don't think, but there were no walls. And I remember during that time period too, it really made me change how my mom saw me, because I had gotten like a stomach flu, and I got my period really early. Like, I was 10, like, when I got it, because I was so, everything in my body was like, okay, we gotta go. But I got like a stomach flu, and my mom sat me down because I was like throwing up because I was sick, and I probably had other underlying issues because I'm going through stress constantly. And she sat me down really drunk, and she was like, Soph, are you pregnant? And I was like, I'm 11. I was like, well, she's supposed to see me as a kid, like her baby, like she was supposed to protect me, she was supposed to want to protect me, but